Hi there, welcome everybody here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show that is dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music and other forms of frog music. So, anyways, we're here to talk about the series. I've been running it for about 6 weeks now. This is the final episode of the series, which is called Serious Changes. These are bands, all 6 of them, who had fundamentally changed their style of music to the point where in some cases it wasn't even recognizable as the group. And this could actually be that too, if not for John Anderson's voice. So this is where, to me, the biggest change took place. Drama, 1980, 90125. I believe this was in 84. I hope I am correct about that. 83 or 84. I think it was 84, though, if I remember correctly. No, I was wrong. It was 83. Should have stuck with my first thought. Anyways, Yes is one of those bands that fundamentally changed their music style in the 80s. However, this wasn't really the kind of first change by this band. So initially, they had a kind of a poppy, kind of 60s sound to their music, at least on the first album, and again to some degree on the second album, but changed radically to a more progressive sound on the third album, developing that Yes sound, as we've come to call it. And then again, they started to lean a little bit more to that jazz fusion stuff on Relayer. But most of those albums from their inception to Tornado all kind of sounded, they all had that Yes sound. Drama was a bit different, so a big change here, but not a substantially, still very progressive music at this point. Just had a different vocal sound, also had a different overall sound. The tone on this album is a little bit heavier as well. But the big change really came between this album and this one. Now, in fairness to the group, they had broken up for some time at this point when they decided to come back and do this. So they were originally going to call themselves Cinema. That was the name they were going to call themselves for the new band. But once John Anderson rejoined the band for the album, because they wanted somebody who had strong lead vocals, as opposed to both Chris Squire and Trevor Rabin being great harmony and backing vocals, but not necessarily the right kind of sound for lead vocals. So then they went, once John rejoined the band, it just became almost without really much argument that they called themselves Yes again. So on this album, John Anderson, Chris Squire, Trevor Rabin, Alan White on drums, and Tony Kaye on keyboards. So Tony Kaye making a comeback on this album after having left after the Yes album. So he'd been gone for a very long time, comes back on this album. This is very pop influenced, very more, it's a much more cleaner sound, I think, but not really dominating instrumentally as it was on this album and the ones in the past. However, very big commercial success, this album, and to some lesser extent, the big generator that came after it. And then they did another one called Talk a bit later than that, even. However, definitely had that, what we would call the Trevor Rabin era Yes sound going forward. Then, of course, they changed back to a more progressive sound later on in the, I believe it was in the 90s, when they tried their reunion album, or the Union album, where they brought back all of the members from the Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, Howe collection and joined forces with the existing Yes group and produced an album by both, which I actually don't mind it. It's a pretty solid album, but I know that there was lots of infighting and problems with that album and the members of the band. And they went forward and produced some more after that, some more progressive sounds, varying degrees of success right up until recently, without John Anderson being in the band now, I guess, for the past 3 or 4 albums, maybe. 2, 3, 4. I think it was 3 or 4. I can't remember. Anyways, we have John Davidson now as the vocalist. Some people will tell me he sounds nothing like John Anderson. Well, maybe he doesn't, but he's definitely in the same range of vocal sounds. I don't have a problem telling John Anderson from John Davidson, but I think John Davidson's voice is very much in that same kind of realm as John Anderson. Do I prefer John Davidson? I like John Davidson. I think he's a great vocalist, but he's not John Anderson. And then just leave it at that. John Anderson, after 50 or 60 years now of singing, still has the same voice. Very few musicians are able to do that. But anyways, for me, the biggest change between the two bands took place between this album and this album. Some people will say, well, this album is an outlier. It's not really like the Yes. So if you didn't want to include that, you could pick up Tormato and say the band changed from here to here. And you wouldn't be wrong either way. Anyways, that concludes the series that we are running, this mini-series that Ben put forth, which I called Serious Changes, about the difference between a band who sounded one way and now sounds a completely different way. So big change for them. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this series. Please hit the like and subscribe. We will be doing another series. We're working on it now. Another mini-series will take over on Tuesdays. It's possible there may be a week where I take a week off on the Tuesday and then come back. I normally do that when I'm doing these mini-series. Or I may just start right in next week. I haven't decided yet. But anyways, Ben has put forth his ideas. I've had a few questions of my own I've asked, so now we're just going to commute back and forth till we get it to the where we like it. And more than likely, this new series is going to be called Decades 2. If you aren't familiar, we did do a series some time ago called Decades, so we will be probably doing a Decades 2. This will be something completely different, though. Anyways, I hope you like this, so please hit the like and subscribe. And if you have any comments on the series or anything I've said, you can put those in the comment section below. Or if you want to add stuff to what I've said, you're more than willing to do that as well. Anyways, I hope to see you all next week. Take care and have yourself a good evening. Goodbye.